Today, we're going to look at a powerful story from history. It's all about three simple things: a stone, a cloak, and an idea that literally changed everything: the idea of unity. Let's dive in.
So think about this for a second. How can just one person with one good idea stop a war before it even starts? We often think peace comes from big treaties or powerful armies. But what if it's simpler than that? This story shows us exactly how one moment of brilliant thinking can do just that. Okay, so let's set the scene. Our story begins in the holy city of Mecca, which back then was this bustling, vibrant center of life in ancient Arabia. And right at the very heart of Mecca, you had the Kaaba. It's also known as Baytullah, which means the house of God. And look, it wasn't just a building for worship, it was the absolute center of everything. It was the hub for trade, for social life, for pilgrimage, but most importantly, it was a sanctuary, a totally neutral ground where even rival tribes had to put their weapons down. Now, inside this house of peace was something incredibly special: the Hajr Aswad, or the Black Stone. The tradition says this stone actually came down from paradise itself, so you can imagine how sacred it was to everybody. But then, disaster strikes. A massive flood just tears through Mecca, and it badly damages the Kaaba. The community knew right away they had to come together and rebuild their sacred house from the ground up. And the rebuilding went great. It was this amazing display of shared commitment. But right as they were about to finish, all that unity just shattered, and it led to this incredibly dangerous crisis of honor. You see, there was only one thing left to do. It was the final crowning task, the most prestigious job of the whole project: putting that sacred black stone back in its corner of the Kaaba wall. And this is where it all went wrong. In a society where your tribe was everything, this wasn't just about lifting a rock. Oh no, this was about prestige, about legacy, about who was the top dog. Every single tribal leader wanted that honor for his people, and nobody was about to give an inch. Things got heated, and I mean really heated. The historical accounts tell us that daggers were drawn. It was that serious. Chaos was about to explode. A brutal, bloody war between the tribes of Mecca was literally moments away from starting. But right when tensions were at their absolute breaking point, a wise elder named Abu Umayyah bin Mughira steps up with a pretty clever idea. He says, look, let's just leave it to fate. The very next person who walks through those gates, he'll be our judge. Everyone was so desperate they actually agreed. And so they waited. Imagine that. The entire future of their city hanging in the balance, all resting on who would walk through that gate next. The first person to walk in was a young man, but he wasn't just any young man. As soon as people saw him, you could just feel the relief wash over the crowd. People started shouting, Al-Amin is here. It was the young Prophet Muhammad, and that title, Al-Amin, meant they all knew exactly who had just arrived. So what does Al-Amin even mean? It means the trustworthy. See, long before he was a prophet, he had built this city-wide reputation for being completely honest and fair. The people's relief was real. They had total faith that whatever he decided, it would be the right and just thing to do. The accounts say he was not at all nervous. Think about that. Everyone else is ready to go to war, and he walks into this pressure cooker of a situation with the power to start or stop a war, and he is just completely calm and wise. Incredible. His solution was just an act of pure genius in how simple it was. First, he took a large cloak and just spread it out on the ground. Then, he placed the heavy black stone right in the middle. Next, he invited a leader from every single tribe to come forward and grab a piece of the cloth. Together, they all shared the honor of lifting the stone. And once it was high enough, he took the stone with his own hands and set it perfectly in its place. And here's the part that always gets me. The thing that makes this moment even more remarkable: at the time he pulled off this incredible act of diplomacy and wisdom, he was just 23 years old. So what's the big takeaway from this amazing event? It's so much more than just a cool story from history. It's really a timeless lesson in what unity looks like. I mean, the immediate result was just astounding. A war that seemed inevitable just vanished. Peace was restored. And it wasn't through threats or force. It was through wisdom. His solution wasn't just accepted, it was celebrated by everyone.
Every single tribe felt included, and every leader felt their honor was protected.
This story teaches us some really profound truths. First, that true leadership is all about bringing people together, not pushing them apart. It shows us that the best solutions are the ones where everyone gets to share in the honor. It proves that wisdom will always, always be more powerful than brute force. And maybe most importantly, it reminds us to never underestimate the power of a simple idea to solve even the most tangled, complex problems.
And that leaves us with one last question to think about. In our own lives, in our families, at our jobs, in our communities, when things get tense and the daggers are drawn, even figuratively, where can we find the courage to be the one who spreads the cloak, who shares the honor, and who chooses wisdom over conflict?